Okay, so thanks for tuning in. I will run you through what we discussed on Monday night. So we can see here that we basically have what we would call a bell curve or an inverted U. And this is very important. All athletes should know about this. Golfers, any sport, because one of the most important things in controlling your emotions, your nerves, your stresses, your excitement during sport is how you can maintain what we would call your activation level. So as athletes, we all want to perform as high as we possibly can. So we can see on the vertical axis, we have performance. On this horizontal axis, we want to remove the word pressure and we want to replace it with activation. So low performance, we are not performing very well. Low activation. High performance, optimal activation. Low performance, too high activation. So activation is our nerves, our excitement, how much fun we're having, how much stress we're feeling, how much pressure we're feeling, how much adrenaline is running through our body, how hyped we are. All of those human emotions go into a pot and mix together and create our activation. So again, we're going to interchange that word, and we did this in the session. We're not going to use the word pressure. We're going to use the word activation. So right here on this curve, our activation is low and our performance is low. An area that this may often happen is a practice session that we're struggling to engage in, or that we were maybe not motivated for. Or if we're feeling tired from school or stressed out about something else in our life, we have something on our mind and we're practicing and we're a little bit disengaged. Performance is low, activation is low. Here, where activation is extremely high and performance is very low, this is where maybe our nerves, our excitement, our stresses have gone from being optimal. So being nervous is good. You need nerves to play your best. You need excitement to play your best. You need fun to play your best. You need some form of pressure to play your best. But if it gets too much and we get too stressed and our activation and our nerves turn into anxiety, we're going to go down and it's going to affect performance. So right here, activation is very low. Performance is very low. This can sometimes happen in practice. In a big tournament or a tournament where we're leading, or a tournament where a college coach is, or a tournament that's important, if our nerves turn into anxiety and we're struggling to deal with them, then activation can get very high and performance is low. So what we want to shoot for is we want to shoot for this area of best performance. So as we climb up, we can see performance is increasing. Performance is increasing. Performance is increasing. It's still increasing. And activation is also increasing. Now this is it. This is optimal for us. So what we need is we need strategies to control our activation, to control our excitement, to control our energy, to control our nerves. And if we put those into play, then we won't get stressed and anxious, and performance won't decrease. It will stay around this area. Okay? So that was what we talked about. We talked about some strategies that we could use in practice to move up the curve. And we talked about some strategies that we could use in tournaments to move back towards this optimal area if we're someone that gets stressed. But before we dive into those a little bit more, I'm going to share a different screen with you. If I can find it. Okay, just going to share my screen. Sorry, share my screen. There we go. So hopefully everyone can see this YouTube video. We're going to play this with no sound. There's a few bad words in this. So I just want you to watch this video. I want you to imagine the sounds, and I want you to look, and I want you to think, where is this guitar player on the curve? How could you help them get back to their optimal area? What strategies and interventions do you have? And if he continues with these behaviors, will he ever play good music? So I'm just going to turn the volume down. So I think you guys can guess from that some of the things he was maybe saying to himself, and you could see what he was doing. A few people, core students, when we showed this video, they were laughing. And some of them were finding it funny because they felt like maybe I look like that in tournaments from time to time. And what that tells you is that that person was way too highly activated. Too much energy, too much anger, too much frustration, too much stress, too much anxiety. And it was having a negative impact on their performance. So they were falling down this curve. So what we suggested as a team is maybe some breathing exercises to pull the guitar player back into this area. As well as breathing exercises, there was some self-talk to pull him back into this area, more positive self-talk. Body language, we could see his body language was very hunched, pretty poor. So again, changing his body language. So body language, breathing, self-talk. We talked about him having a process or a routine in preparation to play the song to help him come back down here. We talked about him visualizing himself playing the song to a higher level. We talked about him taking some breaks, having more space in between attempts. So we're just trying to give him some strategies to come back to this area of best performance. We then also talked briefly about how sometimes in practice we can find ourselves down here. And we talked about maybe using breathing, but in a different way. Rather than using slow 4-second in, 1 second hold, 4-second exhale, 1 second hold, rather than using that kind of breath work, we spoke about different breath work where it's more to fire yourself up. If you wanted to be a college player, we talked about visualizing the college logo or picturing yourself playing for a certain college team to get you activated and get you focused. We talked about music being something that you could put on to hype yourself up. We talked about actually making competition in practice very important. And contrary to what we've been teaching, having an outcome in mind in practice and working towards it. So you're trying to create some form of stress in practice. Because if you're down here, stress and nerves and pressure can actually pull you this way towards best performance. So that was really everything we discussed regarding the diagram. We did say that a player like maybe Patrick Reed would perform better if the area of best performance was shifted maybe to the right. So Patrick Reed, maybe his curve goes like this and then down. So he would want to be a bit more this way, more higher activated player. We spoke about Patrick Cantlay, how slow he does everything, how he never really shows much emotion, how he moves very slow, how his routine is very slow, how he talks very slow. Everything he does is very slow. So he's a player where maybe this area of the best performance is going to be a little bit more this way. So we asked every course student to think about, how does this apply to you? Where would your area, if this was 10 and this was 100 on the activation scale, where do you play your best golf? Is it 50 activation out of 100? Is it 60? Is it 70? Maybe like Patrick Reed? Or is it 20? Or is it 10? Like Patrick Cantlay? So that was everything that we talked about in the session. So I think that's a solid review there. And throughout the year, you're going to need to know this, because when we watch you play tournaments, we're going to ask you, hey, where were you on the activation curve? Were you optimal? Were you using strategies to control your activation? Or were you allowing your nerves to turn into anxiety? Or were you underactivated and you needed to have a strategy to pull you up towards higher performance? So I'm going to share one last resource with you. I'll share my screen again. Here we go. So we can see here that what we've done is, if I can make this bigger, what we've done is we've made an ebook. So this ebook, it will go on the KOHR website, and there's session 1 that was about the culture that we're trying to make with super chicken mindset. Number 2, PCDEs. Number 3, goal setting. Number 4, long-term goal setting. Number 5, the happiness advantage. 6, pre-shot routine and Osphere. 7, what we talked about today, activation control. So next week, we're going to be talking a little bit about effective practice, and just giving you guys some terms built around effective practice. And then chapter 9, this is only going to be for a few people. And then in the final week, you'll see that we have an exam. So every student will get a copy of this book. You'll get to read it. And then before we move outdoors, you'll take this little test. You'll answer these little questions. And what that is designed for, it's designed to help me know if you have the baseline education that will enable me to talk to you on a certain level about sports psychology and help you make those interventions that you need to control your routine under pressure, to set goals pre-tournament and reflect post-tournament, to set goals on a monthly basis, to be happy and engaged in what you're doing, to manage your stress, to manage your time. All of those things, before you can do them, education and knowledge is the foundation. So It's not really a test of you guys. It's a test of my coaching. We'll see which theories that you've grasped, and then that will lay the foundation for when we get outside, us having some very, very strong, positive conversations about sports psychology and helping you practically apply these. The place that you can go if you want to get a little head start on this, if you go to the KOHR website and you click on Academy blog, you will see there's this week's blog, and this video will be posted in there. This is going to be last week's topic. So we talked about Ossphere last week. There's all the information you need on a pre-shot routine. You can click there to rewatch the video about the pre-shot routine. If we scroll down, here we have the session that we did on ChatGPT and so on. So if we go all the way, let's see what this one is. Here's the one on long-term goal setting. So again, if you are going to set some goals and you need a resource, you can come to the KOHR Academy website. You can look at this. You can click to watch the session, and you've got it all there to help and guide you throughout the season. And once we've completed the indoor training, then the ebook will be available for download at this very section of the website. So you go to KOHRGolf.com, you click on Elite Academy, you click on Academy blog, and then it's all lined up there. And there'll be a couple of spaces where you can download the ebook that puts everything in one nice place, or you can use the blogs and the video links within the blogs. So that's everything. Appreciate everyone tuning in. I'll hang around if anyone has any questions. If they do not, have a great evening, and thanks for coming and attending the review.